Good afternoon and welcome to Talking Trade Live with On the Tools. My name's Andy, going to be your host for the next half hour or so on this festive Christmassy show this week. And it's quite apt actually. Two brilliant joiners joining me, no pun intended, Callum and Neil. We're talking about the industry going digital, good or bad. And first out the blocks, I'd love to say thank you to our good friends at UK Flooring Direct, because without those guys, we wouldn't be able to do these shows. So thank you for sponsoring today's show. Welcome, guys. Digital and construction, Neil, they don't really go hand in hand up until the last few years, do they?
Yeah, no, definitely. It's been, like I say, a massive change in the industry with obviously social media. And I think that, nowadays with sole traders, limited companies, it's a massive part of any business platform, bringing in, extra revenue and definitely getting the brand out there and what you do as a trader, definitely.
Now, Callum, we'll look at sort of social media, because obviously without that, us three wouldn't be having a chat today and we wouldn't have any viewers. But sort of going back to us trades, now I'm still quite old school. I'll turn up in the van at 7 o'clock in the morning at my suppliers, have a row with someone because they're blocking everyone in, load up, find out the timber's bent, plasterboard's got ears hanging off it, and then you're not actually at work until late. Do we need to get with it, us older trades, and get with this sort of online ordering and digital revolution?
I've got to say the online ordering thing's a bit of Screwfix will do it to you next day, and so will Toolstation. And most of however, timber, things like that, most of the time I ring a guy to get it in. I wouldn't say I'd turn up at the place, but yeah, I mean, gone are the days of showing up late on a job now, when you can get it all delivered at the time when you arrive. I think is the most important thing. That I'll always make it so that I've got a guy in London who will always arrive usually half an hour before me on site, which is can be a bit awkward, but absolutely, I'd agree. Online ordering is the thing to do, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to throw it back to the suppliers, Neil, because if we can online order, let's say we're doing an extension and we're coming out the ground, so we need our ballast and sand and dust and bricks and blocks and all that. I'm going to chuck it back to the suppliers. And do you agree that if we can do it online, we should be able to check where our delivery is online? Because you know what it's like. Oh, yeah, you've promised first drop and it turns up at 10 to 3. And they got to get with it as well.
Yeah, I think, it's one of those things, isn't it? It's, for years now, there's been that whole thing of, suppliers haven't dropped this off, this hasn't turned up. And I think just as much as we have to move with the times and we have to make sure that we're on top of the game with customers and deliveries, because at the end of the day, the suppliers don't have to liaise with a customer. They're liaising with us. And then we've got to get back to our customer. You're the middleman. It'd just be nice if suppliers could give a designated time and say, right, it's going to be there at that point. Everything will be on site, ready for you to go, even before you've even turned up. That would be great, wouldn't it?
It would be unheard of. Everyone watching...
I'll give you his number. I'll give you my number.
Yeah, everyone watching this late show, obviously a couple of hours late this week, could you please drop your comments in? What do you think about the industry? Do we need to be more digital? Did it work the old way, where you'd order your gear from your local branch and have it delivered, or should we be looking at going online? We will get as many comments read out as we can, and Callum and Neil, obviously two expert joiners, we're going to be discussing this at length. A few people saying hello. Christiana, Carl, welcome to this festive show this week. I was going to don a Christmas hat, but we've got one on Monday and I might dress up and look like an absolute Burke then. Now, Neil, just a quick one. Let's move forward to social media, because if you look at it now, people setting up now are all on social media. Don't laugh, but I only came on social media 2 years ago because I'm a bit old. Do you feel if you're not on social media now, you're falling behind everyone else?
It's a tough one, isn't it? With social media, it's such a massive platform to put yourself out there with what you do, whether you're a joiner, carpenter, plumber, or an electrician. And word of mouth is still one of the biggest ways of getting work, I think, nowadays. And Callum, we've spoke about this before. It's putting that word of mouth platform, getting it out there, but adapting it to social media, and then focusing your business to your demographic of customers that fit within what you do in your trade. And you can't separate any of the old school builders or traders that work still with doing things the old way, where they're using yell.com or whether they've just got a website. I think nowadays websites don't generally give you much return on investment as much as what Facebook does now, because there's so many avenues you can approach with Facebook, whether it be marketing through groups, doing Facebook ads, or linking social media platforms together. So Instagram with a Facebook business page and then a personal profile. I think that, it's a very big key part to any business that's growing at the minute, definitely.
Well, you look at Roll in Peace, great username. Its comment, 100%. If you ain't on it, you ain't getting noticed. Callum?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. To go on what Neil's saying, we were speaking before. I still think word of mouth. That's how I get a lot of my jobs still, is through word of mouth. However, with word of mouth comes someone being able to check up on you. So my Insta, just saying, I'll talk about my name in a bit, but a lot of my work goes on my Insta, as well as other stuff. And I am planning on kind of making a more concise version of just the carpentry work there. So people will hear about me, but then they will look at me online, and then through Facebook I'll get a message or something like that, which is effectively word of mouth. And I think I see social media not as being like a kind of a different thing to how we did it before, but being it's just word of mouth, but it's just typed, so I'll get a message every now and again being, heard about you from so and so, you're free to work tomorrow or something like that. It's exactly the same as word of mouth, and I think that's a better way to look at it than this kind of beast.
Totally.
And terrifying thing to work with. You know what I mean?
It's difficult as well times move on. When I started out, it was an ad in the classified of your local paper, or in the local post office. And that, I'm younger than I'm not. With that, clearly we're not doing that anymore. But what I want to ask you, Neil, is, I kind of hit the nail on the head. Listen, most of us that have been around a while and got a good reputation, it's word of mouth. Mum's at the school gates, it's neighbours, it's friends, it's all that sort of stuff, keeping up the Joneses. Yeah. But as Callum said, they then go online and check you out. So, Neil, is this eradicating all these federations and member sites? Because at the end of the day, pretty much anyone can jump on them. But if you've got a decent Instagram page, Neil, why do you need all that?
Yeah, it's a good point. It is a good point to make. And I think, if I look at my business and the way I present myself, my Instagram is about kind of the back end side of things, showing what I do, how I do it, using different tools in the trade to kind of inspire people to want to go out and do it themselves. But also it's, I link that to my Facebook account, and obviously I express what I do on that as well, but I always show the quality in the work and try and put the best foot forward with what I do and represent myself the best way I can, because when you talk about it on social media, you are putting yourself out there massively. People are going to look at your work, they're going to judge everything. I certainly do. When I look at someone's work, I look at every little detail, corners, miters, all those kind of areas. So it's all very well someone going, oh, use Dave down the road. Oh, he's great. Oh, we done our kitchen last week, or, use this person. But you are literally bearing everything online. And it is quite scary because all your faults are on there, your positives are on there and everything else. So, yeah, I think, in terms of social media and, being out there, you are going to need, it is a necessity to what we do.
The problem is, Callum, with social media, it's instant, and it's, if you are part of, even a website change takes a lot longer than putting a post on Instagram or another platform. But that can have its downsides. Not that long ago, I took the kids out and parked the van, and there was somebody in front in a small little car who couldn't get out and called me because the number's on the side of the van. And I mean, you could have got a bus out of there. Next thing, on Google slating me with the company. So there's downsides to this as well, isn't there? You've got to look at it and think, okay, it's instant, but something like that can put a big dent on your business. So social media is not all positive.
I guess what goes up can come down as well. That's for sure. However, social media, if it's that quick, is it going to last? It might last you forever, but you just put, as long as you've got some reviews on top of that, and also I think the big thing, particularly with comments and particularly with that what you can put afterwards, like we've got in the comments below, is obviously once you put yourself out there on social media, you then need to be constantly there, and you need to be ready to deal with all of those comments and things. You can't be letting something like that lie, any bad feedback or something like that. You need to come back on it. You need to show that you are taking it on, developing it, or you have a witty comeback or something like that. I've seen some companies, not necessarily the trade, but we could be learning from that, achieve an incredible social media fame, one could say, by having some good witty banter, with what people have said. I wouldn't suggest that for everybody. I think there's another thing to think about with Instagram, particularly with pictures and showing your work. This is probably on the negative side as well, is it bears all that you can see, but it doesn't, everything that you can't see is quite important, and it doesn't take, it only takes like a nice halo lamp and, this is my housemate, but let's get it out, and you've got a perfect product. I mean, that's a lot of Instagram is about showing that kind of perfect life and whatnot. I think there is a way that you can be authentic and actually really show your product, and I think that is, people are getting a lot more wiser to that, particularly people that use social media a lot more, becoming wiser to the kind of genuine things on social media and the not so much. And so it's important to have a strategy when you're there, not just firing stuff out. And I think Neil was speaking about that before, about showing how he does stuff and things like that. I think that is more like, let's talk strategy, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, it's reassuring, just like what Callum was saying, it's also reassuring to any potential customers as well, because obviously we've all had it. You go into someone's house and they've said, oh, we had a guy or someone come in last week and they quoted this, or this is what happened last year. This guy done it this way. Would you do it that way? And, I think with your business, if you do show faults as well, or areas that you've had to rectify with maybe someone else's work in the past, it can do your business like a real good, justice to say, not only does he fix thing, he does this, he actually makes good, and you're covering all areas really of your business then.
Well, looking forward, I've always said that apprenticeships, well, that's another story, but apprenticeships, part of it should be how to run a business, and it doesn't need to be hundreds, thousands of people. But one thing we're never taught as apprentices, or when we learn on the tools, is your basics, your accounts, and how to speak to a customer, how to price a job, what contract to use. And I think the way this is going, everyone seems to be involved in social media somehow, if that's promoting their company or their services, ordering tools online or researching online. Callum, would you say we need to take another step back and bring in some sort of social media / running a business online, because, not everyone's clued up on it?
I mean, that would be incredible. I think if that could be part of something, and at least if you have a good social media thing, you can show how you're doing that and what kind of things you're doing. I think I'm completely self-taught, and actually, like a lot of the work that I do, the joinery that I do, again, is reasonably self-taught, and it's self-taught online. So finding, knowing how to find those places, I see it, and I still am developing my work, and it's usually from scrolling through Instagram, seeing how somebody else has done it, thinking that's interesting, I'll give that a shout. So I think teaching you learning and stuff should always be teaching you how to learn, not what, the things to learn. But it'd be really, really cool if from a basic place, you could say, look, this is how I've developed my social media, this is what I'm doing. And obviously that way we'll grow and things will change. I mean, you don't want every single company to be doing the same thing out there, do you? I mean, that's kind of just the same as before. The reason that people are are using social media and they're doing so well out of it is because they're doing something different. I think that's an important thing to say.
Well, the other thing,
So,
Neil, and I'm sorry, so I'm just saying,
no.
with skill, with being on the tools, you can learn and put your mistakes right. And my point of getting more training into apprentices, if you make a mistake, you're going to get knocked, you're going to lose staff, you could lose money. Whereas, if you hash up a mitre on a skirting board, you just go and get another one. And so digital is so important now. And the way I see it is, are we going to have lads and lasses behind the counter in your local suppliers? Is it going to turn into this virtual thing where everything's ordered and delivery, or are we turning into a click and collect? I think the way it's heading, more training's needed, because it's not just putting a picture on Facebook or Instagram.
No, that's true. It's true. I mean, like I say, knowledge is power, isn't it? And I think, knowing your products, and obviously with ordering click and collect at the minute, as it's been with COVID-19, what's been going on, a lot of it has been click and collect. You've got no choice but to order the parts, order your materials that you need, and then just go get them, hoping that you've got the right thing. But it is nice to know that wherever you go, if we do still have to, if it does continue for a while, that we are going into unit businesses to order materials, that there's knowledge from people behind it as well. So those people that we're dealing with on a daily basis know what materials we use, why we use them, whether it be from what jigsaw blades work right with this product, or, whether you can use this tool for this. I mean, I go into my local depot so many times, probably like 4 times a week, and I go to various different ones. And sometimes you see older generations in there just looking for a simple part, but there's no knowledge behind the counter for them to tell them what they need to do. So it's really, and obviously older generations aren't on social media. They're not Instagram. They're not on like YouTube or anything like that. So it's difficult for them to get any knowledge of what they're doing without getting a tradesman come in. And it could be something so simple. So again, like you say, having someone behind a counter is a good thing, because there's that knowledge there. But I think it has to be the right knowledge, and they have to be able to deliver expert advice on products. Because, I mean, Callum, you've probably had the same thing. You go into a shop and you go, I need this, and bring it up on their screen.
They go, what?
Yeah, well, listen, just to back up, Saeed Noor has said exactly that. Every time he's asked the staff, they've been clueless. And I'm not going to mention any names, but a branch that I use for, most of sort of aggregates, insulation, plasterboard, you've got a different person behind the jump every week. And quite honestly, they don't care if you order a box of, inch 4s or a $4,000 full load the next week. And that's back to that side of it. I just want to go back, Callum, to a comment which, again, is a slightly negative side. There's a lot of great positives, but Alan Vermill has said his opinion is, once trading goes digital, it's going to be, or can be, easily doctored or hacked. Not fond of the idea. See, this is another thing, isn't it? I mean, how many emails do you get, selling you pills to grow certain parts of your body? I mean, you make Nigeria that wants all your money. Are the big boys, suppliers, national and regional, ready for everything to go digital? Or is it a question of they need to get security sorted, because we could be hacked?
Yeah, you're totally right. We need to know that we're giving our information away safely, securely. I don't know if his point was more about people faking their work or something like that. I mean, it would be very easy to Photoshop what you've made, make it look great. And I think that is possibly happening out there, and people will be tricked into that. I think I think the reviewing section of that is always going to be super important. Customer feedback. I'd love to see a kind of obviously Yelp reviews and all that kind of thing, and Google reviews we're going to have to be relying on them a lot more. It's kind of sad that it might end up in a sort of a star rating kind of thing on a personal trader. That is where we've been going with a lot of other things. I think I would love to see a word of mouthness remain somehow in the industry, and you are taking people from other ways, but it is going to make us more accountable at the end of the day. Eventually, isn't it? We are going to be accountable to our customer, because what they say online can really hurt us as well. In terms of being hacked by big companies and stuff like that, I mean, if you're sensible with your software and things like that, I mean, I guess I am of a certain generation who kind of understands and recognizes a phishing email and whatnot for what it is. And I guess education about that with older generations is going to be hugely important. So it is your kind of, the slightly older generations that are getting scammed much more. And I guess it's down to us, people that recognize that, to educate people that we know, on site or in our families and stuff, and show what is a phishing email. Don't give your details to this. Do give your details to that. Use sites like PayPal and other ones like that, which are secure. Ultimately, I mean, it is going to go digital unless something terribly happens, isn't it? We are going to be ordering online. It makes sense, and the more people that kind of can come round to that.
I'm with Paul O'Hara, who has said, not a good idea, nothing better than face-to-face interaction for bespoke orders. And
absolutely,
I'll put it to both you guys. A lot of what you do as joiners is bespoke. It's not, right, I need a couple of pallets of commons and, this, that, and the other, a couple of bulk bags of soft and, dozen dust. Some of the stuff is bespoke, but also with things like timber, let's take, stud work, 4x2, 6x8x2, and then all your skirts and arcs. I want to know each one that's gone on that lorry has been looked at and checked, or I'll go in and pick it up myself, because that half of that is going to get slung on the floor. So Neil, this goes back to the older people. We love going in, and I will check every length before I load up. Can't do that online.
No, you can't. This is it. And that's a very good point, actually, because going digital, although it does have its pros to it, it does have its cons. And one of the cons is, like you say, ordering it online, knowing what stock you're going to get. Has it just been loaded by someone who's new to a company, who's just loaded on 24 lengths of 2x4 and just gone, that's it? Like you, myself, if I'm doing a bespoke build, whether it be a horse shelter or, something indoors or a bespoke summer house, I want to make sure every length is fairly straight rather than it have a bow in it or a kick or something like that. Because again, then you're in more complications. You've got 24 lengths of timber that you can't use right away.
And I'll tell you what, I can give you an example. It's about 10 years ago we did a rear single extension and a side single extension, got up to plate, flat roof on both. Really, I mean, you do it with your eyes shut, that sort of thing. And anyway, timber came along in a lorry, high-abbed off, labourer brought it around the back, didn't even check it because we were up against it time-wise, cut everything, stuck it on. Obviously, lads on the top, warm deck, we went underneath, everything was first fixed, put the plasterboard on. We had to float the ceiling. That's how pissed the joists were. 8x2s were that bad, we had to bring it out with bonding before we plastered it. Now, Callum, if you order online, mate, you've got no idea what's rocking up.
I think you make a very fair point. You've got to check that stuff. However,
online,
I think the best thing about this ordering online thing, I think we're getting, it's like, I mean, you're talking about ordering from very, very big suppliers who, I think we've got to put the onus is on them now to have staff that we can trust and to trust them and treat them right. Or what we use is online for is connecting us up. Like my guy supplies most of the entertainment industry in London, my timber supplier. I know him. I mean, I'll ring him up. He doesn't have a website yet, but he will once he is going to go digital sooner or later. But he's still a small supplier. You see what I mean? He's still someone that I will trust, and I know exactly what kinds of timber he comes from, and I'll use him every time. So it's more, I think it's about connecting those suppliers that you trust with good joiners and whatnot, but using an online platform, it's just slicker. And I think that's where the online becomes useful, not when you're using maybe large suppliers, but I think you do need to trust the people that are dropping it off. And it's not about
Paddy Radmore. I'm not just saying this, but I'm with you on this comment. And it's a really good comment. And this is about investing in staff. Can't expect a member of staff who's paid minimum wage, which a lot of them are behind the jump, who aren't trained in various skills. Maybe the bigger firms should pay more to get knowledgeable staff in, because at the end of the day, if you're paid minimum wage, you're going to go, right, that firm there needs 30 lengths at 3.6 or 4x2, whatever's in the yard, stick it on the lorry. And they don't care, but as a chippy, whatever you're using it for, and 50% gets slung in the skip or back on the lorry, it's going to slow you down. So I'm with Chris on that, and I think digital's great, from my opinion, for things like invoicing. When you've got your trade accounts, you can actually go online and think, right, at the end of this month, I've got to pay off £8,000. So you can see where you are rather than just having the good old days of a bit of paper as you drive out the yard. We've got about 5-10 minutes left. Talking trade this week is going digital, good, bad, ugly. Youngsters are all over it these days. Us old boys who can barely turn a computer on, maybe not. But I think what we're doing is finding a middle ground where it can work both ways for both of us. Now, Neil, moving forward, personally, I think you're still going to have branches there where you can go in and pick and feel and touch. And it's a bit like clothes shopping, isn't it? You aren't going to buy a pair of boots online. However, the way things seem to be progressing with marketing is Facebook, Instagram, Google, all of these platforms. It does seem as though let me ask you, if you had 20 quid left, where would you put it for advertising your business? Online or offline?
Online. I'd go online.
Yeah. That's the way
Definitely.
It's going. It's instant. You've just put a picture up, an amazing bespoke set of wardrobes you've built, yourself. Decorators come in and tossed it up, made it look lovely. You're going to put that on, and someone you're going to see that night can see it. Whereas if you're going offline, let's say, local paper, trade press, radio, crikey, it's not that instant. Callum, if you've got your last 20 quid, where would you put it, on or offline?
Oh, definitely off now. I'll put it online as well. It's going to go further, even if you've still got word of mouth and whatnot going. You need, what's the best thing? You're not going to work around with paper portfolios, anymore. You need someone to be able to go on their phone, go, oh, you made that, brilliant. I'll take one too.
Well, I'm thinking that the way it's going online wise is that, you're offline. Right, let me ask you guys, you're both a bit younger than me. All the trade magazines you get them on the counter in supplies. You get a lot of tossed through the post.
Yep.
Do you read them?
No. Oh, I love them.
Would you read them? Right.
I'm not going to lie, I love them. I put them in my toilet. I've got them on my kitchen table. I've got them with Peter. I've got them with Peter on my fridge, man. Swear down, it's great. I've got one in my toilet as well, actually.
I think that's the way it's going. I actually don't have a telly, and I watch more stuff on things like YouTube because, like you said, Neil, if there's a new tool out or a new material out, you can find it instantly. And if you want a review from New Zealand or America where it's made, you've got it. Whereas offline, and I classify TV as offline, you're looking at stuff which is probably shot weeks or months ago. I think online has got a lot of positive. I found out something this morning from a mate. The second largest search engine behind Google is YouTube. Is that the way our business is going, Neil?
Well, again, like Callum said, he's learned a lot from YouTube and learning like new ways of doing things. And I think especially in the States, they're killing it. They know their knowledge and what they do with their craft is amazing. It really is. Some of the biggest contractors, some of the biggest YouTubers in our field are in America. And they've really nailed their business down. And I think, for us and, myself, I've learned a lot. I've got a lot of inspiration from America and the way the Americans do things. I even done a post on a group the other week of doing some kickboard moldings. And I had this job where the socket couldn't be moved. So basically I just run the kickboard along, continued the profile down, underneath and across.
I watched that. I saw that the other day. Yeah, it was genius.
Did you see it?
Yeah. I don't know what platform that was on. There was some Instagram story. Someone reposted that. I think it was like woodworking.
Yeah, it's actually on my Instagram.
And then,
And I done a few things with it. Anyway, I put it on this platform, and you know what? The comments that came back and the feedback I got. Wait, why do that? Just use a router. Why not just use like a router and a jigsaw? And I thought, well, I've done it all with one tool, a miter saw. So why would I need to use two tools? And then one guy said I could do that with a bread knife and sandpaper. And I literally, keeping the language to a minimal, I called him out and I said, go on then, do it. And then he popped up and he went, I could with a Stanley knife and some sandpaper. And I went, go on then, do it. And then get back to me when you're done. And he just went, and I was like, where you go?
Do you just another question for you guys? Talking of America, they obviously work very differently to us. They don't work with MDF, which obviously they make it and sell it to us, but they don't work with it. The way they're going over there, do you know their largest national, obviously a lot bigger than us in Britain, but their largest national supplier? Amazon. Amazon supplies most building products in America. There's all these rumours at the moment that Jewson/Travis, I know that Amazon have been sniffing around for a few years, and that rumour is not a new one. Is that the way it's going? Are we going to get the old drones knocking out bags of sand and lengths of skirting being dropped in the front of someone's job?
Aircraft carriers. It'll be massive drone.
With a big smile.
Just want to go back to the comment. Sorry, guys, before we sort of wrap up. Rachel Nags, what's your views? Either of you go for this. Sorry, something just popped up. See, me and computers, we don't get on. Give me a handful any day. What's your view?
Serves M8 to help digitize your back end.
Yeah, I mean, Callum?
I couldn't speak for service like M8 myself. Obviously, CNC machines.
Are we using more? Is it good to use more digital applications, software, hardware for the back end of our business rather than?
I work in. They do a lot of work for the entertainment industry, and we obviously CNC machines are our bread and butter. So we'll get a lot of stuff pre-done, and then we'll be slapping it together. It's speed. The onus in that world is speed and time. And a CNC machine does a great job. Accurately, you can post. I mean, I'm myself thinking of kind of going a bit more that way digitally. Obviously, software such as SketchUp that's the kind of thing we're going for here, like SketchUp and Rhino and things like that. I'm training myself in that kind of stuff. I think that's the ability.
I've got no idea. What's embarrassing? I've got no idea what you're talking about. You mentioned Rhino. I thought Farming Park in the Midlands.
Rhino's the thing. Yeah, so 3D modeling software, I think, it's certainly where a lot of the stuff I do in my industry has been for a while and is going. It allows the client to be able to see what you're doing for them, before you've even begun.
Or you self-taught?
That is all self-taught. Yeah. So that is, you learn that.
Is a lot of tradespeople, me included, didn't do very well at school. We're not good with things like that. So someone like yourself who can self-teach and probably quite good on a computer, going more digital is going to play into the hands of people that are better with computers than. Yeah,
it's not. I wouldn't necessarily say that it's not. That's not fair, and I think it is a responsibility to kind of help go out there. But obviously, it is more efficient and it is quicker, and for a client, if you can sit down with the client and show them around the space that they're about to go into. I mean, there are things like there's VR is a thing for designing now. You can design a space. Someone can put the goggles on and they can walk around it. I mean, that's probably a little bit more high tech, but you can also use VR software to design, which I would argue that I've used VR not that long ago, and it's totally different than when you're on a computer because it's tactile. So we could almost bypass all of that faffy kind of sketchy uppy stuff if we went for VR. And I believe that, I reckon maybe that would be actually helpful for people of less tech generations to get into the tech world.
I'll tell you what, that's a good topic on that. Week, virtual reality. Is it coming into construction? Is it better than what we currently got? We're running out of time. What I want to ask you both, Neil, to start with, just to summarise, where are we going to be as an industry in 5 years' time in terms of the digital offering?
I think it's inevitable as a nation, as a country, and as trades. It's inevitable. We're going to be big in the digital age, whether it be on, again, social media, with business, whether it be in construction, 3D printing, CNC machine work, things like that. The more people put out there on social media, the more people want to up their game. They want to change things. They want to bring new technologies into play. And I think that a lot of these big companies that are out there that are just suppliers at the minute are going to also have to step up their game of what they do and become a leading, support network for construction and trades. Like you say, at the minute, you know, you go to a depot and you can get timber cut for you, but imagine if you could get it CNC'd and get anything you want. I mean, putting it into perspective, at the minute, when you're buying skirting boards, what's the most popular ones? OG, Taurus, Pencil,
Taurus,
yeah. As a company, it's definitely something that I will look into at some point, will be CNCing bespoke joiner, bespoke architraves, bespoke, you know, skirting boards that have got patterns that you couldn't even imagine of getting right now off the shelf, but you can supply something that's completely bespoke, whether it be a floral print, it might be someone wants CNC'd names of their kids, their family members, or memorials within, like, you know, skirting boards. These are all things that companies need to look at in the future, because people are going to want it. It's going to come along and someone's going to get it one day and they're going to do it. And then all of a sudden, all these big companies, they'll be like, wow, we've dropped back. But
Callum,
going back to,
well, yeah, I mean, a couple of companies have already brought out portable CNC machines, which I've been looking at recently. You know, you turn up on site, you bring your timber with you, you've got someone sending it through there. I think the future of tech is going to be so, it's like tech, sorry, rather than the online stuff, but tech incorporated into our building so much more than we thought, and unfortunately, yeah, online. However, I would love to still see a personal side of things. I think the word of mouth thing, I think it's still going now. I think it'll still be strong. You know, personally for me, I'd prefer if Amazon didn't take over our our building industry, and we can kind of keep a relationship between our suppliers and our
knowledge going to be
drones doing it all for it.
Just to finish with, I think it is going to be a lot more digital and be a lot more online ordering. Probably, you know, you pick your phone up on a job, everything's going to be, you know, bish, bash, bosh, and it turns up the next day with a time. It's great for ourselves and our businesses, but I don't think, as a few people commented, we can go away from that personal relationship, walking into your local depot, yard, suppliers, picking stuff off a shelf, and you know, having a relationship that way. We've sadly run out of time, but I've certainly learned a lot this last half hour, 35 minutes. I'm going to go and look up what this rhino thing does, because it's not an animal with a tusk on the sounds of it.
Not anymore.
To Neil and Callum for joining me. They certainly brought some brilliant stories and ideas about the way the industry's going. I'm off to do a bit of research on what digital means. See you next week.
Cool. See ya.